human rights violations, and humanitarian laws. I have two questions which are interlinked to it. In such a scenario, what role can AI play in foreign diplomacy and conflict resolution? Second, sir, as we all know, India follows a non-alignment policy. India doesn't align with a one power bloc. So I have a question related to that as well. How does India's policy of maintaining a neutral stand in international disputes benefit its position and influence in the global politics? That is it, sir.
Okay, the first question to do with AI in foreign relations, in foreign affairs primarily. I would say AI is going to play a role, but it's not going to play a role in a way. It's more on the communication front. It's more on certain parts of diplomacy, but not entirely. So it is going to play a role, but not yet it has started off. So it's still in its germinating stage, I would say. But even if it does, but as and when it does, it will be having its impact more on the communication perspective. And now coming back to your second question, I think I stand by our country's policy because first of all you have to understand that when you see the global scenario right at the moment, you have wars across almost every geography zone, right? Small, big, whatever. There are clashes, conflicts, if not wars. From that perspective, I would say what the stance that India has taken primarily is the right one, considering, remember, we are there to solve the problem. We are not there to be part of a problem. So I think going by from that perspective, internationally, from a diplomatic scenario, I would say, India has played the perfect card. And right now, as it stands, of course, you can say that, well, because of that kind of a stance, US levied those taxes, right? But now you can see a toned down version of Donald Trump coming in within the last 1 week.
So, but what do you think are the reasons that these wars or disputes never find a resolution? It never completely stops.
It's nothing to do with, see, the common people are the people who get killed, injured, whatever. The harm goes to them. But remember, there are some countries who want to carry it on for their own benefit, for their government's benefit, to stay in power and to meet their own ends. So that's something which goes on. It's not, it's not something, because now I can speak in my personal capacity, I would say. What US did over the last so many years, you've seen, poking nose in each and every corner. It has faced the backdrop, starting with Vietnam, down till here. So it has followed a trend, but there are some countries which has a habit of keeping it on. There's no so-called solution. They don't want to arrive to a solution. Even if you are, in a way, stating over there, okay, let's solve this situation once and for all. तभी भी नहीं होगा. और ये चलता ही रहेगा. भले स्तर नीचे हो जाए, भले स्तर ऊपर हो जाए. चलता ही रहेगा. कुछ देशों का यही रीत है.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, in all this Bengal and Nepal situation, most of the students protested. So, with universities shut and academic disruption, what is the long-term effect on youth? And what policies should be used to ensure education is not compromised during any political crisis?
Now, in Nepal, I'll take the example of Nepal to start with, Gen Z. I'll come to Bangladesh part later on, but if we take Nepal to start with, it's something which what happened was, in terms of the social media blocking, was something which was just the nail in the coffin. That's all, the final nail in the coffin, nothing more than that. Because it was growing for a considerable amount of time. And if you ask me why, answer is just one word: corruption. That's it. Now, coming to the other part, what was your second one?
So my question is that what policies should be used to ensure education is not compromised in any political crisis?
Well, I think education under no circumstances should be compromised. It's not about a policy to be done. It's a birthright. So it's something which under no circumstances should any country do that. Now coming to Bangladesh, as you were talking about, it seems from the front of it that it was a student agitation, right? There were just a few faces among the students, but they were the people who were actually firing those guns were not students. They were full-fledged political activists. So things have not come out in the open as yet, and as things will unravel, you will agree with what I say.
Namaskar, sir. I'm Nishant from Jaipur, Rajasthan. My question to you is, given the strategic position of Nepal between India and China, how will the current political unrest affect the regional dynamics, and which countries are expected to extend their support to Nepal, and on what basis these alignments are usually determined?
Now, the political crisis, I would say, was there. Right now, things are coming back to normalcy because the current interim government, which has taken power already, including the interim prime minister, things are slowly under control, and more so, I individually myself spoke to one of those student leaders who had carried out the protest over there. And when I asked him this question, his reply was just in one sentence. He said, whatever we had to do, we had done. Now we want to go back to the old ways in terms of our, taking, because tourism is the main source of economy. From that perspective, they want to go back to their traditional ways now. They wanted a clean, I say again, a quote unquote, clean administration, because not a corrupted government. What they wanted, they have got. Now, of course, election is going to happen. The political parties have already created a stir by saying, how can the interim government dissolve the parliament? From that perspective, those political stuff is going to continue. But that's not going to mar in any way the situation that Nepal is currently slowly coming back to normalcy. It will take some time. But as far as India is concerned, I think India has already made it very clear. We have made it very clear right from day one that we want no violence. That's it. We stopped at that. But going beyond, I would say we are happy. Things have now slowly coming back to normalcy. And I'm sure it will. Despite one country which is trying its best to inflame the political attire in a way worn by two political parties in Nepal, but that will never be a success for them.
Thank you so much, sir.
Can we have some questions for sir as well? Okay.
So,
Yeah.
देखिए नहीं देखिए आ जाओ आप उधर नहीं पूरी तरह फर्स्ट वन बोलो उधर देखिए आ जाओ आप
majorly on the borders of Arunachal Pradesh. Okay? So it basically affecting the RD tribe which is residing there. Also escalating the tensions. Majorly that area has been affected because the project dam which China is building upon that border, Adi tribe has been affected through this because majorly.
I got your question, by the way.
So what social impact भी बहुत पड़ रहा है, plus वहाँ पे agriculture जो भी है, बाकी सारे resources वो भी बहुत ज़्यादा affect होंगे अगर वो project dam बन गया है तो चाइना की तरफ से.
An Indian delegation had been to China just a few days back, and their delegation had also come over along with the foreign minister, and we had an SEO summit recently in China. Separately, we had a bilateral talk as well, and in fact, all these matters have come up in different ways. There have been some constructive steps which have been taken.